We all have that image in our heads, right? The hero, standing tall, drawing back a bow with effortless grace, sniping enemies from a mile away like Legolas. It looks cool. It looks clean. But if we actually travel back to the year 1415, the reality of being an archer was absolutely horrific. It wasn't just a job, it was a physical deformity. It was a life of chronic pain, disease, and a very, very messy death. Today, we are going to live that life, from your birth to your grave, to see exactly why it sucked to be a medieval archer. Welcome back to the channel. When we talk about medieval warfare, the knight usually gets all the glory, the shiny armor, the sword, the horse, but the archer is often the unsung hero, or the villain, depending on which side of the arrow you're standing on, but history books often skip over the daily misery of the man holding the bow. To understand why this life was so brutal, we have to stop looking at battles as single events and start looking at the archer's life as a timeline. So, let's start the clock at day 1.
You're born in a small English village. You aren't a noble, you're a yeoman, basically the middle class of the feudal system. You have a bit of land, a roof over your head, but you don't have freedom, because the king has a law, a very specific law. Every able-bodied male, including you, must practice with the longbow on Sundays and holidays. This isn't a hobby. This is mandatory state service, starting from the moment you are strong enough to lift a stick. You don't get to play tag, you don't get to rest. You go to the village green, and you pull, and you pull, and you pull. Your childhood isn't about fun. It's about building the specific muscle groups the king needs for his next war. As you hit puberty, something strange starts happening to your body. You see, the English longbow isn't like modern bows. It has a draw weight of over 100 pounds. Imagine lifting a 100-pound dumbbell with 2 fingers, hundreds of times a day. Because your skeleton is still growing, the stress of the bow literally reshapes your bones. Archaeologists call it os acromialis. Your left shoulder, the one holding the bow, develops bone spurs. Your spine twists. You are literally deforming yourself to become a weapon. By the time you were 16, one of your arms might be noticeably thicker than the other. You aren't just strong, you are permanently lopsided. You have sacrificed your physical symmetry for the king's ambition. You're 20 now. You're strong, you're deformed, and you're ready. The call comes. A captain comes to your village with an indenture, a contract. Now here is the one tiny sprite bod. The pay is actually decent, 6 pence a day. That's more than a skilled laborer makes. But there's a catch. You have to leave your farm, your family, and walk. And I mean walk. You aren't a knight. You don't get a horse. You're marching hundreds of miles to the coast, carrying your bow, your arrows, a sword, and your armor. Your knees start to grind, the leather straps of your gear dig into your skin, and you haven't even seen an enemy yet. You've crossed the channel. You're in France. You think the worst part is the battle? No, the worst part is the water. Hygiene in a medieval army camp is non-existent. Within weeks, the dysentery hits. They called it the bloody flux. I'll spare you the graphic details, but imagine having the worst stomach flu of your life while wearing padded armor, sleeping in the mud, and having to march 15 miles a day. Many archers literally cut the backs of their breeches off so they could relieve themselves without stopping the march. You were dehydrated, you were feverish, and you smell terrible. This is the glamorous life of a soldier. Finally, the enemy is here. You stake your position. You hammer sharp wooden stakes into the ground to stop the cavalry. Your heart is pounding. This is it. The order comes. Knock, draw, loose. You pull that 100-pound weight back to your ear. Your deformed shoulder screams in protest, but adrenaline takes over. You release. Then you do it again and again. You are a machine. But here's the scary part. You run out of arrows. And when the arrows are gone and the knights get close, you're not an archer anymore. You're just a guy in light armor with a heavy hammer or a knife. The French knights are angry and they hate archers. If they catch you, they aren't going to take you for ransom like they do with the nobles. They might cut off your fingers so you can never draw a bow again. It is a desperate, bloody brawl for survival.
The battle ends. You survived, miraculously. But the horror isn't over. Now comes the looting. You walk through the field of bodies, pulling rings off dead fingers, looking for coins. It's gruesome work, but it's your bonus check. You see friends dead in the mud. You see horses screaming. It's a sensory overload of death. And then you walk home. If you're lucky, you get paid. If the king is broke, which he often was, you might get a thank you and an IOU. You trek back to your village, carrying the mental and physical scars of what you just did.
If you survive the war and the infection and the walk home, you reach old age, probably around 45 or 50 back then. Remember that bone deformity? It's coming back to haunt you. Arthritis sets in early. Your back is ruined. Your joints are stiff. There is no VA hospital. There is no pension plan for a yeoman archer. You go back to farming, but you can barely lift a hoe. You were a hero of Agincourt, maybe, but to your village, you're just the old man with the crooked back who tells scary stories at the tavern. You served the realm, and the realm took your health in exchange. So, was it worth it? The glory? The victories? Maybe for the king it was, but for the archer, it was a life of forced labor, bodily disfigurement, disease, and trauma. It turns out being the person behind the arrow wasn't about being cool, it was about survival. If you enjoyed this chronological breakdown of history, hit that like button. It helps the channel more than you know. And tell me in the comments, if you had a time machine, would you rather be the archer or the knight? I think I know the answer now. Don't forget to subscribe for more dark history. See you in the next one.